Vox decided to ask porn stars about their coming out experiences. In other words, when they told their families about what they do. And a lot of this stuff is really interesting. I want to give you a few examples here because it seems like a lot of the responses are all over the place. When Madison Young told her parents, quote, "I've always had the philosophy of reveal all, fear nothing. I came into the adult industry to start documenting my sexual life on film to show honest sexual connection and female pleasure being expressed without shame. If I was to hide that act from my family or friends, well, I'd only be perpetuating that inherent shame that exists in our society. My family is rather conservative and live in southern Ohio, but they have become more open-minded over the past decade. I was no longer living with my family and had established a strong community in San Francisco when I came out to my family. At first, it was very foreign to them, but after years of conversations, of taking a deep breath and being patient and creating space for their emotions and defining what our comfort levels were with particular conversations, it's actually a great place now." Jessica Drake says, quote, "I wasn't close to my mother at all, and she took it upon herself to tell my father in the worst imaginable way. She sent him pictures of me having sex. When I managed to talk to him about it, he didn't want to discuss the particulars of my job for obvious reasons, and neither did I. But he told me as long as I was happy and being safe, he loved me and supported me." Tasha Rain says, quote, "I told my mom I was going to do more penthouse-type stuff, which was a nice way of saying porn. My mom goes back and forth about whether or not it's something she supports. I think she tries her best, and that's all I can ask anyone to do, attempt to understand. My little sister was furious and still is. My older sister is really supportive and cool about it. One of my brothers was really ashamed, and the other was all about accepting me for me. It's all over the place with their reactions." Farrell or Pharrell Timlake, "I will not deny the palms being perhaps a bit cold and sweaty as I held the phone in my hand. Mom, I have something to tell you. I do porn. I just got busted for weed, and my wife's pregnant." There was a long pause at the other end of the phone, and she said, "Sue's pregnant?" It took her another 2 days before she circled back around to ask me about porn and weed. A few months later, she was bragging to her blue blood Connecticut country club friends about it. A year later, she was the lone investor to help me purchase homegrown video out of bankruptcy. So there's more examples of this, and you can see it over at Vox. But what I think is really interesting is that it's even a question in today's day and age, you know? And I know this might be like the super liberal side in me coming out, but, I mean, the reality is what? Sex is something that the overwhelming majority of us do on a regular basis and think about on a regular basis. There's a small percentage of society that's asexual, but the overwhelming majority of us are sexual in one way or another, and it is really one of the most natural things imaginable. Like what? Next to breathing and thinking and using the bathroom, like what else is more natural than what we do to perpetuate the species? Like, think about that for a second. That is how every single one of us exists, because our mother and father had sex and daddy blew a monster load into mommy's vagina. I know that's a blunt way of putting it, and you don't want to think about your parents fucking, nor do I want to think about mine fucking, but that's how we're here. We are all here because of sex. So the idea that it should be something that's shameful and hidden in society, and you should look down upon somebody who partakes in that kind of activity, I mean, to me, it sounds as ridiculous as like being angry at somebody who hosts a cooking show on the Food Network. Why would you be angry at the guy who's hosting a cooking show? He's just harnessing something that we all do. We all eat. We all need to do that to survive. It's part of being a human being. It's hardwired in our DNA. He's just doing something that is natural. And you're, what? Oh, how dare you? That's so shameful that you cook food for people and are involved with a base desire that is a human desire. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Nobody would think for a second to go after, you know, somebody like that. Or doctors, for example, whose job is to like get people healthy so they can continue to live with a high quality of life. Like, it's another part of the human condition. We want to live and we want to be healthy as we live, right? Nobody looks at doctors, how dare you get people healthy and try to harness what we naturally want to do. But for whatever reason, this one area we've carved out in our minds that, no, the sex part, the icky part, meeting the hoo-hoo with the hee-hee and doing that until climax, no, that's bad, that's wrong, that's terrible, we need to disincentivize that, we don't want to talk about that, we want to look down upon people that engage in that, when every single one of us does it, okay? And then never mind the massive number of people. Like can you imagine every single one of these people that I just went through who had a negative reaction to learning that one of their siblings or whatever is a porn star? Guaranteed that they masturbate on at least a weekly basis, probably much more than that. So is that not massive hypocrisy? Oh, what? Your family's above the DNA aspect and the genetic aspect and the biological aspect of wanting to have sex? Get over yourself, man. See, that's the thing. What is it? Like, what? It's more special? You're above the fray if you're not into sex? No, you're outside of the norm if you're not into sex. So why we shame it is, I was going to say is beyond me, but we actually know why that's the case. We shame it because it's remnants of a puritanical day and age. It's this leftover feeling from the same era that when we had the fucking Salem witch trials and when we sprinkled goat blood and danced around a fire to try to get it to rain. We put leeches on people's body to try to cure their cancer. It's this leftover thing from a primitive age when nobody knew anything about anything, and it's the sense that, oh, you're doing something, you're supposed to do that in private, stop it, no, sex is bad, sex bad. But for whatever reason, that one stuck around. That one continued. Well, now guess what? I mean, now we live in an age where we have the internet, we have open access to information and education, we have a more liberal generation growing up, youth that's more open-minded about stuff like this. So it's going to go away, man. The whole mindset of shaming and looking down on porn stars, it's not going to exist much longer, and I can't wait until that day comes when finally people can just look at porn stars like they look at anybody else. You don't look down at them. You don't judge them. You just say, oh, okay, that's the business you're in. Interesting. Well, I'm an accountant.